Recording in progress. Hey guys, welcome back to Navigating Neva. This is your host, Neva Nicole, and I'm with my co-host.
Wesley King. Hey, everybody.
And today we're going to talk about why we switched a lifeguard program that changed everything. And before we dive in, I just want to give everybody a quick heads up that none of us are getting paid or sponsored or even promoted for any of the certificates that we're going to, or the certifying agencies we're going to mention in tonight's topic or tonight's podcast. This conversation is completely independent and it's coming from a place of real experiences, real challenges, and real wins. And tonight we have our special guest with us, Tanner, and he's just going to share a little bit of what worked for his team. And we're happy to openly explore that with him. Tanner, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. My name's Tanner Pavicic. I'm based out of Northwest Indiana. Or should I start with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're going, baby.
Okay. I'm based out of Northwest Indiana. I run a country club / private community pool. This is going to be my third year doing that. So my facility name is Lakes of the Four Seasons. We're a resident-only club with a large main pool and a kiddie pool. We offer swim lessons, aqua fitness, and a fully operating poolside cafe that we just opened this year. This is the first time that it's actually been open since 1998. So it's been a really great fix for me.
Greatest year ever, by the way. Keep going.
What was that?
That's the greatest year ever. My head lives in 1998 forever. Keep going.
Oh, the greatest year.
Yeah.
It's definitely brought a great mix of the pool and hospitality that has been missed in my facility for a while.
Yeah. And don't bear the lead, Tanner. You're part of the triumvirate. You're part of the text crew, our text chain that we've held on to, right? You want to tell the story background a little bit?
Yeah, so this is my first year attending AOAP. For those of you who don't know what that stands for, it's the Association of Aquatic Professionals Conference. This year it was in St. Pete, Florida, which was a great escape in February that I was able to leave school from as I attend IU now, which is Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. I got to meet Nicole and Wes at the conference, and we have stayed in touch since then and grown closer together, and they've definitely been a great source for me, as well as a good friend.
Yeah, I've been to countless conferences, and I can count one conference that I still have a text group chain on from when I left from 6 months later. I met a lot of great people. Credit to both you and Nicole. So, but back to your point, awesome summary, awesome details of your operation, and hopefully our audience kind of gets a baseline of what Tanner's working through as we get these questions going about what he's experienced and what he's improved upon. Because a lot of people have cafes, a lot of people have pools, a lot of people have guards, a lot of people have outdoors. So Tanner, tell us kind of how it was and how it is now and what the big difference has been.
So right now, we kind of started, or last year whenever I came on, or no, not last year, sorry, 2 years ago whenever I came on as the assistant director, it was a little bit of a heck. What was that?
No, you're good.
Okay. I thought you were about to say something. Whenever I came on 3 years ago now, it was a little bit of a hectic scenario for myself, just because I came from a place of organization. It kind of, while I was working full-time at my old water park and part-time at where I work now, it was just kind of like a really like bipolar and like difference in a sense.
Ups and downs, night and day.
Yeah, night and day, completely. And so, I mean, I kind of began trying to change things over. It was kind of hard with my director not being certified as a lifeguard or anything in general relating to
some
aquatics.
big hurdles. Big
right?
world. Yeah. Yeah.
She had been a lifeguard prior, but she doesn't really know anything. Well, she hadn't known anything really relating to the industry.
And not uncommon too. A lot of people have those challenges or situations with management that just don't have that
100%.
experience.
I learned that at the conference, that it's kind of a bigger thing than most people realize, which is kind of a problem. So right whenever I came on staff, I began making changes that I thought were necessary, and we kind of grew from there. Last year was my first year as the director. She was let go, and I'd filled her position
So
just
let's
last year.
pause for a minute there. You said you came on from another. So I think a lot of people can relate to you, where we work at one facility and then we work at another, or sometimes we, have a summer job and a winter job, or sometimes we come from a different area. So I think a lot of the listeners will resonate with that. But you came from one facility that you said was followed the rules a lot more, and then this facility was a little bit more laid back, and you feel that was due to the management not having experience or a background in aquatics, right? Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, like I said, she did have a sort of a background, but you can't really. I mean, I started as an LGI that year that I had gotten that position as the assistant director. So that was originally why I had started. They hired me in to do their certifications only. Then they brought me on as a part-time position. So
there we go.
I didn't know that.
Keep going. Yeah.
So
people can relate. Keep going. This story is common. Keep going.
So I had originally been certified whenever I was 17 through Red Cross as an LGI, and so basically they hired me in to do. I had offered to do in-house certifications because they had people going. I think they had some people doing online certifications, like online lifeguarding.
I believe it. It happens down here somewhere.
Crazy.
It happens. Yep. Our audience members are going, wait. Me too. Sorry.
And so I had originally just was going to do that just because I was young at the time. I still am young, and I wanted to just make a few side bucks doing some certifications elsewhere outside of my previous facility. And it just kind of spiraled from there, and I saw more change, and I had brought that up to my now GM, and he had wanted to keep me, and yeah.
So
please go, Nicole.
Let me go a little bit back more into setting the stage for the listeners. So the facility that you came to, that you're currently at right now, from the patrons' perception or even management's perception, what would be some differences from where you were to where you are? Just because I know, because I've been in the same situation you have, but for our listeners to kind of place that scene, what were some of the big things that stuck out to you that were almost night and day between the two facilities?
I honestly, I'm gonna take back the management part night and day in that kind of sense through my previous facility. My previous facility was not ran smoothly. It was well put together just because people it had been running for a while. The same manager had been there for 10 plus years, and so she had the way that she did things, and she was a great source for me. She was a great person that I looked up to, and she kind of helped me out in a sense to build my foundation here. I took a lot from what I learned there. And I mean, that I would just say the organization, I mean, it all starts from, I'm going to kind of go back to some of the things that were wrong. I mean, lifeguards, I would pull up in my car. This would be the pool right here. This would be the parking lot. I would take a look down at the pool. I would see a guard on stand sitting like this, two directly down on the ground next to him, just sitting like this. Some girls would lay out, just, they're catching a tan.
Yeah, and we know this is bad, but it could have been worse. Like they could have been in the water swimming or not had a tube.
And to the boss, the boss who's been there 10 years says, well, this is what we've been doing. And the members may or may not like it, but why, don't break it if it's not broken. But to Nicole's point, it's kind of really broken. And so that to happen, right?
I'm glad that you brought that up too, because this was kind of a huge change for both my management and for, residents to see. Another huge thing was, during lap swim in the morning, we would have one guard up. I have 3 stands in my main pool. And so I have this is my lap area. And then I have a deep end right up here. I have a guard right here, and then guard in the deep end. If you staff that pool with one guard and then I have one supervisor on shift, that is not nearly anything close to being able to run the necessary life-saving.
Busy day, all types of different swimmers, different activities happening.
And so whenever I came on, my immediate fix was to staff the pool more with more people. And so, or more lifeguards, sorry. And so that saw a budget increase, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So the budget hadn't been evaluated since 2018. My budget had almost doubled than what it should have been. And that was just due to guards getting higher wages. Cause the wages for guards are now competitive in my area. They're at least 14 an hour. So that was another change that I saw my second year. I moved everybody to 14 an hour. And,
so to take on in your second year, by the way, again, for everybody listening along, you went from a lifeguard instructor to somebody helping out doing internal audits, to then taking on a manager position, then having somebody who'd been in management leave, then saying, hey, we need to make some specific changes on how many staff we have, the volume of staff, and what they're doing. And by the way, you're going to hand me a budget. Like, I just, want to give you a lot of credit. We've known you for a little bit, Nicole and I have, but also B, want the audience to kind of give themselves a chance to reset too, to go, I've checked that box. I maybe didn't do it as young as Tanner did it, but allow yourself to know all those things happen in a short time span and say, okay, if I did this, I can do this, and not feel so bad about the things that maybe are going wrong every day or the things you don't like. Because there's been a lot of really good progress, and I just want to pause and kind of recognize that, because it's not easy to do in that short amount of time. So,
and I kind of want to give the viewers some kind of some clearance on how I started and how I got to where I am now. So I started as a lifeguard at a local water park near me whenever I was 15. I was thinking it was only going to be a summer job. I had wanted to be a lifeguard for a long time. And so it kind of just grew from there. I became a lead at 16. I oversaw nearly over 100 lifeguards and slide attendants. And my third year at the water park, which was my last year, I had gotten certified as a lifeguard instructor through the Red Cross. That, like I said before, I had came over to my facility to certify. And I had gotten that assistant director position, which was made specifically for myself. And then once that other manager got bumped out, I got offered the salary paid position, full-time, seasonal, immediately.
That's awesome. That's a really big win. We're going to go ahead and talk about what program. So you were a American Red Cross LGI on the second year guarding, and then you came to this facility. What certification program were they using before we just made the switch?
So since we weren't a licensed training provider, so we didn't really have a specific certification. It was kind of like if you had a guard certification, you were able to guard, which
like a melting pot.
Correct. It was just like, you have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, some online. Once I saw like 2 girls that had online certs from, I think it was 2021. And while that was right after COVID, I was just like, still, that shouldn't, I don't even know why that's a thing. But we had, during my first year, that is whenever I had came over, Four Seasons became we got our LTP through American Red Cross. And that was just because that had always been what I had worked with. That's what I worked with at my previous facility. And so I started with American Red Cross my first year. We used that last year again, as that was my first year as the director. So it was just kind of a lot to kind of take on. I was essentially thrown keys. I was thrown a lot of information, and I was told to run a pool.
Not in this industry. There's no way that happened.
Yeah.
You're the singular. There's 6.5 billion people on the planet. You're the only one that's ever. Anyway, I'm sorry. I say it out of love. Sorry,
Oh,
but you're
Wes.
right. And you were handed a melting pot,
You were.
Yes.
and you were handed one. So tell us what kind of made you start thinking about. Was there something that happened? Was there just so many overwhelming? What made you start thinking about transitioning out of what you had into what you have now? What were some of those things that made me go, I could do this different. Could I do this better, etc.?
Well, I also wanted to say too, on the previous question, I had also seen that it got the job done, and we started noticing performance inconsistencies, lapses in vigilance, a general lack of engagement, and something, I just needed something stronger that would create a culture shift in my staff, not just check the box off for getting it done and getting the season through in the summer. And so just last year, I had hired my own staff. I hired a lot of friends, which I learned was a huge mistake. And I was thinking that I thought I would have a lot of, I would have all my friends. They would all come in. Let me tell you, that was wrong. I had days where I would get calls from, because we have private security. I would get calls from our private security, and they would say, "Hey, we're here to unlock the pool because there's patrons here and nobody showed up." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
And it was your friends that was supposed to be working?
Half of them were friends. I did hire a good amount. I didn't just
Fair.
hire friends, but it's still my idea behind it is, a lot of people see it happening, so they think that they can do it. So it was almost like a virus that kind of spread throughout my staff.
Don't hire your friends. That's how podcasts get in the top 10, by the way. I always tease about it's good quotes like this. Don't hire your friends. So we needed a good quote. Now we're going to keep going.
Quote for this.
Yeah. But anyway, so not only that, the lack of maybe coordinated hiring processes, you having to do it all on your own, would those kind of also say, how many more things can I put on my plate as a single human being? Whereas maybe if I had a more of a support system or a larger management support process, I could do this a little better. Did that play into it too?
100%. And so that did play into effect. I did a lot of self-reflecting. I reflected on, this was my first year doing this. And like I said before, I hired a lot of my friends, and, whenever it came down to it, I got rid of a lot of people. And that was just something that was needed. I got rid of, I want to say 85% of my staff. And so, that kind of.
Don't be afraid to do that. There's nothing wrong with it. I let go 18 people in 18 months one time, and we used to HR would ask me, how come nobody? Hey, at the end of the month isn't here yet. Give me a chance, right? It doesn't mean everybody's bad. It just means you're resetting your culture. Again, I know I'm interrupting, and I'm sorry, but these are great things for people to kind of sit back and go, 85%. How do you do that? Well, let's talk about how did you do that and what came next.
So a big thing near me was a shortage in lifeguards as well. So I was kind of scared doing that, just because I had, previously, my staff is right around 40 total, including supervisors, lifeguards. I have an assistant director. All lifeguards this year were swim instructors, so that was pretty easy. That's kind of like a co-position. Last year it was a singular position. So it was easy to kind of bond those two together. And then on top of that, I got about 10 people who work in my cafe. But, I wanted a culture. Like I said, I wanted to shift my culture. So it was pretty easy. I'm going to be honest. And why I say it was easy was because I feel like I'm younger, and I know how to reach out to people my age to get them in to get a job. And so a lot of it, I was back in February. Mind you, I wasn't getting paid for this. I don't know if I should say that or not, but back in February, I had started my hiring process. So I started nearly 2 months earlier than I started the year before. And that was just, starting to promote jobs, getting flyers out there. I started using Canva a lot. I'm like a Canva pro now.
Nice.
Less Canva. I love it. And, I mean, I kind of just I grew our Facebook page, our social media. And I think I had 98 applicants this year. I did phone interviews over the phone, which last year I did. I want to say I started interviews, but I didn't go through with them just because I had a lot on my plate. So I made sure I wanted to talk to everybody before I hired them. So, I was able to have choices at the end of the day. I was able to, I mean, unfortunately turn some people down, sucks for them, but I got the best of the best out of my applicants.
So you hired these people, and I'm taking it they're all brand new guards. And instead of doing what you did last year, just this certificate and that certificate, you trained everybody in-house. Is that right? And so you made this switch, and everybody got the new training all together. And who'd you
Correct.
switch to?
Well, so clarify too. So my first 2 years, we did certify everybody through Red Cross. I made that change right whenever I came in. I said to my GM, look, this needs to change to this. And it kind of worked out because I was originally just going to do certification. So everybody was just going to be Red Cross.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this year, or not this year, 2 years ago, so 2023 and 2024, those seasons we were all American Red Cross. This
And
year,
now, there you go.
what was that?
And now you are.
Oh, now we are StarGuard Elite, and so I'm very happy that we made that switch this year. And so I could tell you, whenever I went to that conference, and even prior, I had seen a facility. Well, my old facility had switched to StarGuard Elite, and I was just like, man, what is this? I've never heard of it. I was fairly new also to the industry. So, I mean, it's also, it's not right for me to say, what is this?
Well,
but
all the companies have been around different lengths of time, and each management company kind of has their own specialty without knocking or sliding into it. Some do cruise ships, some do water parks, some do open water. So whether you've been in aquatics for 30 years, Nicole and I are old farts. Well, I am. Nicole's young and shiny. Or you've been just starting out, don't discredit yourself for not knowing who StarGuard is or Ellis is or the Red Cross is. And the other thing is, if you've only worked for one of them, there's a good chance you don't know the other things even out there. Again, to Nicole's point earlier, we're not promoting anyone specific, but you've had a great experience, not just with StarGuard, but also with the transition of what they did for you and with the team's experience. Is that fair to say too?
that is 100%.
Talk to us about that a little bit. Not only what a member has seen this summer that they didn't see last summer, but what you've seen and what the guards have experienced. What are some of those significant adjustments?
Do you mind really quick if I talk about how I found StarGuard Elite and why I chose it too?
This is your show, dude.
Perfect. So whenever I attended AOAP, I had just gone up to the SGE stand. I was just like, I was walking around the tables, the expo center, and I just saw their stand, and I was like, oh, what the hell? I'll go up and check it out. I talked to them, and right off the bat, they came off very strong, which was very good, and I loved that. Like American Red Cross, I think, had a stand there, and they was like, "Oh, we have this giveaway, so apply for this." And StarGuard immediately tried roping me in, and they were they were listing every pro that they had, and I was like, by the end of the conference, I was fully convinced that I was switching to StarGuard, and I mean, I was so happy that I made that decision myself.
You can say it. You met another cool guy named Wes. There are not that many of us. He has much less hair than I do, and I respect him for it. But it's okay for the audience to understand that there are very few cool guys named Wes in aquatics, and you happen to meet the other one, and that's really all it takes. And I respect it. Again, you don't have to hide behind it. It's okay. Sorry.
So also, you went there not looking for these people. I mean, you went there. Right. Correct. And so I think that's a good point to point out. I mean, you found what you were looking for.
On a reason to attend one of these conferences. AOAP.
All things.
I mean, and all things aquatics. You got to attend that too. But I mean, that's just another reason why it's so great to attend a conference like this, just because I went in not even considering, and I mean this wholeheartedly.
We met you. We know.
Yeah, I was just like, I was fully strung on Red Cross. I mean, my mind was just like plastered. And so right whenever, I mean, like I had said, right whenever I'd started talking to Chris and Wes, both of them had, obviously great things to say about their training program, but I was happy to hear it. And I thought they were good as what they were making it seem like. And I'm now seeing the results of that as well.
Yeah, talk about. I know we've mentioned that a little bit, but I do think it's important. And we know you, Tanner. We've met you. We've seen what your members say on your Facebook page. We see you share these posts with, again, the great camaraderie they experience. But if you're comfortable with, tell us what some of the members have said to you, and even some of the guards have said to you about their experience this summer that maybe you didn't hear before, and how you're able to really celebrate those kind of cool things that you hadn't really heard maybe before.
So previously, I had also mentioned to you guys the other day, as well as StarGuard. I was able to have the chance to tell them directly because they're so good at reaching out to me. That's another thing, Red Cross. I don't even think I had a like a rep or somebody who went back and forth to me. StarGuard immediately, like, they stuck by my side the whole time through whenever I was getting trained as an instructor, creating my facility, going through the portal, just learning everything related to StarGuard. I felt so just immersed and really helped out by them. But as for the feedback part, I had started getting a lot of incredible feedback this year. And so a lot of that is really hard in a private community, a country club, any private aquatic center. You have a lot of people who complain and really just,
they complain in all aquatics, but no offense to country clubs, people complain in aquatics everywhere you go, but understood.
Yeah. So, I mean, right off the bat, so we really emphasized audits this year, just because, I mean, what was it? StarGuard really emphasizes auditing throughout the day. And, Red Cross does too, but they're not as strong on it. And they don't really have a lot of, I would say, tools to help me out and aid me with my auditing process. So right whenever we started doing audits, I mean, I had people left and right, not only to my face, but to my supervisor behind the desk, my assistant, just that people felt so much more safe this year. I had some people saying that they've lived here for 35 plus years, and this is the best they've ever felt at the pool. This is the best they've ever seen it, which is just great. I've had some people even mention down to the being friendly. So, I mean, that shows that our culture has really taken off as well. Just that people have felt safe, and they feel like the guards are way more alert than they've seen before in prior years. So that was just, I mean, that I felt like that was,
yeah, wow. That's awesome.
Really great to hear that, my staff is doing phenomenal this year, especially starting from practically the ground up.
Yeah.
And as well as having StarGuard be a product that factored inside of that.
So, not to rain on your parade, because I'm happy for you. I'm very happy for you. But what if it's not all StarGuard? What if it's just your management style is different and that's raining down? Like, your kids are good.
And that's not discrediting any management system, by the way. StarGuard, right. But keep going, Nicole. Sorry. Yeah, well, I mean, great question.
You came to Florida and we met you, and you already had that I want to do better improvement attitude. And then this program came in and kind of amplified what you already had. So some facilities aren't going to buy this, even if we shove it down their throat, and they can say, oh, well, we can just have better management. But I think a lot of yours did come from your management. I mean, you are driving the whole, you're driving it.
Correct. I definitely agree that leadership is key to everything. But the right program amplifies what you're trying to build.
Gave you those tools to succeed.
Correct. You could be the strongest leader at the end of the day, but without the right tools at hand or the right framework, it's kind of an uphill battle. SGE definitely gave me the structure I needed to lead effectively and hold everyone kind of to that higher standard that I was looking for and create that culture that I wanted.
And it sounds like they stay there for you. With Red Cross, you were, and again, we're not hating on Red Cross, but you weren't getting that one-on-one. Do you feel support here, basically? So every time you have a
100%.
need, you get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I have my client partner. I think I called it a rep earlier. It's every area of the U.S. has a client partner, and so I work with Kelsey Warren, and Kelsey is great. She's amazing, love her, but she has really stuck by my side, as well as Chris. Those two have been there for, I mean, any question. I have their cell phone number, like, so I'm able to text them anytime I have a question. I reached out to Kelsey about a certification in my first class, and so she responded right away to kind of help me make that decision right then and there. Like you had stated earlier, I kind of do feel support. Well, I do feel supported, and you know, they reach out to you through email. They do regular checkups in on you. They check in on you to make sure that you're doing good with their program, especially with their new facilities. They like watching out and kind of. Sorry, Nicole.
Oh no, you're good. I think you're doing a great job of kind of summarizing why you chose them and your satisfaction. And again, if there's people that have Ellis and Red Cross and others, reach out to us. We'll have you on. This is just as much about the experience as it is the organization that Tanner's using. But what I also like hearing you say, Tanner, is it's not like you're doing less. You still have this mountainous checklist. You still have all the things that you listed up, but you have a backup plan. You have a support system. You have somebody you can call. And what I also have seen, and I don't know if Nicole, a change in your demeanor, maybe in your confidence, in your attitude about leadership, in your I can do it versus I wish I could do it, or I know I can do it because if I mess it up or don't get it right, I have a backup support system. So knowing all those things, what would somebody who is in your position look for? What were things that now that that's been improved for you, what's advice or something you could tell somebody that says, well, I want to get better. How do I go about getting better? What could you tell them?
I would say ask yourself honestly, are your guards doing truly, are they truly ready to participate in real world emergencies that we see presently taking place every day? Not just test scenarios. Or even if there is a sliver doubt, you're kind of signed to reconsider your process and how to relook into things, and maybe even switch your training program to, I mean, like we had said before, we're not discrediting American Red Cross or Ellis, but switch to something else.
Mama taught me, if you hear something twice, pay attention. And you had now said introspection twice. And I think that's a key takeaway for everybody listening of, yeah, I think we're good, but are we as good as we can be? Do I understand what good to great is? And I just give you a lot of respect for owning that and then being able to act on it. Go ahead, Nicole. Yeah.
Taking that, if an aquatic manager or director is afraid to make the switch, you know, sometimes we're on the fence and we're kind of hesitant about it. What
you mean like stuck in our ways? Sorry. Yeah. What? Sorry. I interrupted. She asked what advice you get. I interrupted because there's more than one aquatic director here stuck in the ways. Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, I feel like change is definitely uncomfortable, especially whenever you worked with the same product for a couple of years. Like I said, I'd been working with Red Cross, and I was stricken that was the only thing that I could use. And you could speak for me. I think I might have even said that at the conference to you guys.
I remember walking the tables with you, buddy. I remember.
But honestly, it's way more comfortable to deal with something preventable that could have just been avoided with better preparation.
Yeah. Well, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's, to be honest, why we do this podcast is, again, we've had a lot of people, products and services and businesses on, and we don't pick one or the other, but we do it so people listening go, oh, wait, this is out there. Tanner's walked this path. He got support from his property, all those sort of things. And that's, honestly, why we do this. Yeah, Nicole?
And so,
Oh,
well, I also just want to say, if your gut is telling you that something's off,
mhm.
you don't want to wait for that wake up call to happen, because it will happen. And
Another quote.
yeah, you really don't want it to happen, because I mean, at the end of the day, we're here to keep people safe.
The Spidey sense is no joke, my man.
Yeah. So we didn't dive into it, and I didn't prep you for this, but how quick and easy was this process? I guess you called or
Yeah.
emailed them, and then they, of course, they got to schedule stuff. They can't just pop in like fairies and sprinkle the sprinkles around. So
Maybe they can. I don't know.
maybe they can, but I think it was a pretty quick turnaround from what you told us in our group chat. But for those listening, what could they expect? Like if this is something they wanted to do, it was smooth and easy and good to go.
Correct. So, like I had told you, I had Chris's number from the start, which is one of their client partners, and I believe his direct name is something safety specialist, something like that.
On his
But
birth certificate? That's awesome.
what was that?
On his birth certificate, it says something safety specialist. That's good for him. He was
You're always
suited for
full of
this
jokes.
job. It's late. It's late at night. You can't blame me.
So, right, I think that night that I think it was the night that you guys had left. You guys had left during the day. I had stayed for the nighttime.
I was at church. I was at church and helping get cats out of trees. That's what I was doing.
So I immediately reached out to Chris. I think on the airplane, I remember buying the $15 airplane Wi-Fi. And I had started then and there just because of how excited I was to make this switch. So I emailed Chris, I want to say, right, what was the conference? It was like February 10th. I got a response 2 days after, whenever he got home. He started making the change. He started onboarding me. It was all at my own pace. I scheduled everything. He hit me up with a date, and I said, "Yep, that works." I met with Jessica Gray, who is I forget what her direct title is, but I met with Jessica, Chris, and Kelsey. They helped me get set up with the online portal. They right even before I had paid for it, I had access to the portal. So I started checking things out. They were like, do you want to go through with this? So that was also another good thing. I got to check out their portal and see how easy it was and how many resources and tools they had to provide me as a facility director. And after that, I mean, like I said, I had already been locked in, but this made it 10 times more easier knowing what I was getting myself into. And so I just emailed back with a yes, sent me the invoice, and then boom, we're all
And
good.
and again, these are great. Whether it's software for your payment system, whether it's payroll, whether it's your products, take Tanner's advice. Take the week of software development. Take the free week of portal. Take the demo software. Whatever the company is, whether it's product management, whether it's a food vendor, learn from this and say, hey, I'm going to get a week and try it out. Hey, let my
Yeah.
team play in the sandbox. Hey, let me get whatever the thing is, whether it's StarGuard or your software for pay, whatever it is. These are valuable tools that you have in your back pocket to say, hey, Mr.'s vendor, I want to sit back for a minute and I want to understand it and I want to use it to my advantage before I make a decision. I think some people rush, some people get afraid of it, et cetera, et cetera. And so, Tanner, I just think it's really smart, and the audit should pay heed and go, all right, I will take my week and I will run it through the system. And so I think it's just very valuable.
100%. I kind of want to talk about, the training and kind of the setup and the vibe that I currently get from my guards too. And so I just have a few things to say about that. And I felt like the training was a lot more in depth than Red Cross. I had a lot more tools, like I've mentioned several times. But it was more interactive. It was definitely more realistic. It made a lot more sense. It made a lot more sense the way that they teach everything to their instructors as well. So like my specific course, the instructor course that I took, that they laid out everything that I needed, that I felt like I needed and more to be prepared to teach other guards how to guard. And so I felt like it wasn't just about memorizing. It was kind of about the reaction that you need to give. And from the first in service, the guards just bought in. I mean, I just felt like it clicked better than my previous years. And while people could also say I was new to the industry, I was newer instructor. Mind you, I had been teaching. I want to say I taught over 20 classes with the water park, 20 or 25 classes, American Red Cross classes, just in one season. And so, well, between the two seasons, let's just say that. And so they had, I mean, while it did click for Red Cross, I felt like I was just going through the same thing over and over again. It felt just boring. But StarGuard, I just felt was a lot more, it was kind of entertaining to teach. And I really enjoyed teaching the class and taking.
You can't fake energy. You can't fake energy. You can't fake buy-in. It might be hard to measure on a stat sheet or a budget sheet, right? That's what I'm sensing you're getting at is there's a different vibe, maybe a different culture, a different buy-in, and the staff is willing to do things in a manner that's more professional and engaging than maybe they had been in the past. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Yeah, good. It's a compliment.
And from I've also mentioned this a lot. From the beginning, whenever I had started, a lot of people didn't they had never seen in-service. So they weren't very strong on their skills. And it wasn't as easy to teach them just because a lot of them had been there for a while. So they had mind you, I was also 17 and some of them were like 20. They were like, what's this high schooler coming in and telling me what to do? And so
been there, brother.
Yeah. And so it was a huge kind of change to jump through, just because they were so stricken in their ways that it was
in-service was a foreign language to them.
Oh,
right. And again, and we're going to wrap up here in a minute, but again, I think hopefully everybody can take away from where they were a few years ago, not only individually, there's an introspection, but also where your team was, 85% turnover, management system, certification. And if anybody listening has had similar experiences, I think it's valuable to sit back and go, where am I now and where do I want to be? And hearing Tanner's story can, without being cheeky and cheesy, maybe even inspire somebody to say, I can get through it too. I can get somebody to support me on the back end. And anyway, so we just really appreciate Tanner. Yeah. Where are you at, Nicole?
Well, for everybody listening, I wanted to add to what Tanner said without really saying it is, and I've made some Facebook posts about this because I was like Tanner. I came from a place that followed all the rules and I loved it. And I was young. They put me in charge of people. It was phenomenal. And as Wes knows, only aquatics throws the youngest people in the world in charge of 100 people in the summer in the most dangerous setting, the pool. And yet here we are. So if you guys want leadership experience for your kids and you're listening because you stumbled upon this podcast, throw them into aquatics and they get that leadership if they show any sign of leadership qualities. But
yeah, it's really, I'm not going to say it's easy, but if you put in the time and the work and you show that you want it, you'll get
They'll
it.
give it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was constantly told that whenever I was at the water park, oh, you can't be a lead until you're 18. It's only your first year. Why would you get a lead position? And I still remember whenever I got pulled into that office, my second year into my GM and my old manager's office, it was one of the greatest days of my life, just because that was what I was working to. And I was so happy, which it was so hard leaving the water park. I'm happy where I am now. I had mentioned to you guys too, I definitely want to return to the water park industry post college.
Careful what you wish for, pal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stairs on the top of those slides.
Yeah,
the adrenaline is great.
You won't miss the knee surgeries, I can promise you that. But yes,
miss the days of saying, "Oh, it's already 4:00."
Right. Yeah, it's a different time segment at the country club for sure.
Absolutely.
But what I wanted to add for all the listeners is there's people that come from places like where Tanner was and where Tanner is, not what he's created now. But I never realized this until now. And in hindsight, I look back. So I've had my children come up in aquatics, and if they're at a facility like the one Tanner and I came from, where rules are important and in-service is being given, you get a completely different aquatic experience than those people that were at the country club with their tubes laying on the ground that had management that didn't know what aquatics was. And Tanner's turned this culture around. So if you guys are somewhere now and you see what's happening, I mean, it took him one summer and he turned the whole thing around to people wanting to do in-service and caring about the position they're in. But that comes from the bottom down. That comes from management putting a good example out there. And for me, it's just really sad when people go to a place that doesn't appreciate what aquatics can bring. And, you know, yeah, again, to me, that's leadership. Leadership's the one that models that so that we know
It's
what
truly
you're
the
getting.
foundation.
As much as we promote the system you have now, the reason you're here today talking with us is because of that word leadership. And again, we're so proud of you.
Thank you.
know you've been growing that mustache since February, and you keep working on it. It'll keep getting in like a
Wes.
chia pet, and it'll get there. But it'll get there. Don't worry. And it's only 6 months for the audience members, so just so everybody knows. But again, thank you for being here, Tanner. We appreciate
Of
your
course.
story
I'm
and
very
everything
happy
you're
to do it.
doing. So,
All right. Well,
final notes, Nicole?
Yep, we're going to wrap this up. So if you guys got on this episode thinking that you had an aquatic or a coworker or someone in aquatics who has some questions, we hope these gave you all of your answers. Of course, you'll be able to find how to get in touch with Tanner on our show notes. And if you're looking forward to seeing Wes and I, we'll be at the All Things Aquatic event on September 20th. And that will be not in Florida, but in Georgia on St. Simon's Island. Until next time, guys, take care.